Assalamu alaikum. I am Dr. Uzma Manzoor. Today we will discuss the placenta previa. Actually, it is a kind of the antepartum hemorrhage. In antepartum hemorrhage, we will see it is placenta previa, abruption or vasa previa. First of all, antepartum hemorrhage. Antepartum hemorrhage means bleeding from the genital tract after 24 weeks of gestation and before the delivery of the fetus. So if a patient is pregnant and she has started bleeding in this duration before the delivery of the fetus, then it is the antepartum hemorrhage. The incidence of the antepartum hemorrhage is 3%. Out of this 3%, 1% is the placenta previa, 1% is the placental abruption, and 1% is the other causes, including the vasa previa. The maternal mortality is very high due to the antepartum hemorrhage. It is 11 per 100,000 maternities. So antepartum hemorrhage, I already told you types: placenta previa, placental abruption, and vasa previa. Now, what is placenta previa? Placenta previa means implantation of the placenta in the lower uterine segment. First of all, we have to know that the normal location of the placenta in the uterus is at the fundus of the uterus. So, if it is not in the fundus of the uterus and it is in the lower segment, so it is a wrong location. So, it is a placenta previa. So, you can see in this diagram the placenta, it is in the lower segment, but it is not reaching the cervical os. It is 3 to 4 centimeter away from the edge of the cervix. So, it is a type 1 placenta. Patient can deliver normally in type 1 placenta. But in type 2 placenta, you will see now placental edge is reaching the cervical os, but it is not covering the cervical os. It is type 2 placenta. In some books, you can see type 2 placenta previa is further divided into the anterior type 2 placenta previa and posterior type 2 placenta previa. So, in type 2 anterior placenta previa, patient can deliver normal. But in type 2 posterior placenta previa, patient cannot deliver normally. Then type 3 placenta previa. Type 3 placenta previa, you can see in the diagram, the placenta is covering the cervical os, but cervix is still closed. So it is a type 3 placenta previa. We have to do cesarean section for this kind of placenta previa. Then type 4 placenta previa. You can see here in the diagram, placenta is covering the cervical os and cervix is dilated. So it is a major degree placenta previa. In other words, type 1 and type 2 you can categorize as the minor placenta previa, and type 3 and 4 as the major degree placenta previa. Now, who are at the risk for placenta previa? First of all, the patient who has the any kind of surgery on the uterus. So there is endometrial scarring of the upper segment of the uterus. So there is the implantation of the lower uterine segment. Placenta is implanted there. So whenever the scar tissue is there in the uterus, the more chances the placenta will be implanted on the side of the scar. Then next patient, if she has prior history of dilatation in the curettage or the cesarean section. So again, the area is rough, more chances of placenta previa. Multiparity, because as the number of the para is increased, the size of the placenta is increased. So it is the more chances that patient may have the placenta previa with the advanced parity. Similarly, advanced age, it is the independent risk factor as the multiparity. If patient has a previous uterine surgery like this myomectomy, so there is a more chance of placenta previa in this patient. Now, factors that determine the persistence of placenta previa mean कि which patient will persist have the placenta previa, because in the early gestation of the pregnancy, most of the placenta is low lying, but with the passage of time it will go up. It is called the placental migration. So at the end of the in the third trimester, very less patient will have this placenta previa. Now, what are the factors that placenta will persist in the lower position? So I already told you, if she has the placenta, this scar uterus, history of DNCs, grand multipara. So this factor will persist the placenta previa location. So if you have patient have the ultrasound at 24 weeks of gestation, placenta is low lying, then It can migrate up if there is no other risk factor. So at the time, placenta will be at the normal position. It is called the placental migration. Now, what is the clinical presentation for placenta previa? First of all, painless vaginal bleeding. There is bleeding. Mostly the patient will complain that she was sleeping and there was the bleeding. So in 70 to 80% of the patient, there is a painless vaginal bleeding. It is usually common in one third of the patient prior to 30 weeks of gestation. If it occurs in the third trimester, then it can be due to the shearing force from the lower uterine segment growth and the cervical dilation. Then if patient has a sexual intercourse, placenta is low lying, then is a more chances of the vaginal bleeding. Similarly, if she starts the uterine contraction, then 10 to 20% of the patient with placenta previa will start the profuse bleeding. What are the fetal complications for placenta previa? Fetal, first of all, the malpresentation. Why? Because placenta is located in the lower uterine segment. So the fetus will not engage and it will be not the normal presentation. Mostly the presentation is the transverse lie or the breech presentation. Then more chances of preterm premature rupture of membrane, and sometimes it may accompany the multiple gestation. Now, how you will diagnose placenta previa? You can diagnose placenta previa either by ultrasonography, first of all after history of course, then ultrasonography, Doppler studies and the MRI. On ultrasonography you can see this is the black shadow is the bladder, then it is the homogeneous shadow placenta. So first of all, whenever you will do the ultrasonography, there should be full bladder to see placenta is below the utrovesical junction. If it is below, then it is a placenta previa. You see another picture. This is a placenta. This is the bladder and cervix, covering the cervix. Now placenta accreta. Placenta accreta. What is this? It is a complication of placenta previa. This is abnormal attachment of the placenta to the uterine wall residua, such as that a chronic villi invade the abnormally into the myometrium. So placenta is already previa now, but it start invading into the scar tissue. Like if she has a previous section, there is a primary deficiency of or the secondary loss of the decidual elements, residua basilis. Associated with the placenta previa in 5 to 10% of cases, it is a placenta accreta. It depends upon the how many number of cesarean section she has. If she has one cesarean section, less chances of placenta accreta. If 2 or 3 cesarean section, there is more chances of placenta previa with placental complication, especially placenta accreta and percreta. Now we will see what is the placenta accreta and percreta. So first of all, we see in the placenta when it is located, it is a normal decidua in the upper diagonal. Then in case of accreta, you see there is the mild, this is invading the myometrium, but in percreta there is a, you see there is no uterine wall, placenta is invading and coming outside the uterine wall. It is called the percreta. Sometimes it is too much coming outside from the uterine wall that it invade the bladder wall, so there is the more complications. Another investigation to diagnose the placenta previa is a Doppler ultrasonography. It will show the blood flow in the placenta. So we will confirm it is the placenta is previa and how much it is invading into the myometrium. So placenta percreta and accreta will be diagnosed on the Doppler ultrasonography. Now, what is the management of placenta previa? First of all, it is individualized. Not much evidence that we will do at this session this and this. We have to see multiple factors. How many weeks she is pregnant, how much bleeding is there, and what is the fetal condition in the presentation. I mean, if she is the full term pregnant and this patient started bleeding, then we have to do the cesarean section. If there is amount of bleeding is less, asymptomatic placenta, mean very low bleeding, we can wait up to the term for the lung maturity, at least for the lung maturity of the fetus, then we have to wait for up to the term. Number 3 is the fetal condition. If fetus is not in the being not in the good condition, there is a deceleration and there is a bleeding and malpresentation, transverse lie, start bleeding and pain, then we have to do the immediate cesarean section. Now preterm with minimal or the resolved bleeding. This is the, you can see we can roughly divide the placenta previa patient into the two, mean asymptomatic patient and patient is not full term. Second is the symptomatic and patient is full term. This is the patient, you see now minimal bleeding, but she is, you see, in the second trimester, still not approached the third trimester. So what we will do, only the expected management, because our aim that patient should be go up to the full term pregnancy, for at least for the lung maturity. So we will advise her to take the bed rest with only the bathroom privilege. But we have to do what? Lab investigation, periodic maternal hematocrit. Then prophylactic transfusion to maintain the hematocrit up to at least more than 30%, only with the continuous low grade bleeding with falling hematocrit unresponsive to iron therapy. If you are giving the iron infusions but still hematocrit is low, then we have to give the blood transfusion. If patient is asymptomatic, so we have to do only expected management. We will give bed rest, we will arrange her blood, we will correct her anemia, and then we will plan the mode of delivery. Now patient, you see, meanwhile maternal condition already we monitor. Now fetal condition, how we will monitor? Fetal heart rate monitoring only with the active bleeding. If she has active profuse bleeding, then we will see baby is okay or not, there is deceleration or there is some emergency or not, otherwise no need. Ultrasound every 3 weeks we will do to see the fetal growth is okay, amniotic fluid index is okay, and what is the placental localization. And if patient is Rh negative, mean her blood group is negative and husband is positive blood group, then we have to give the ROGAM for this every episode of the bleeding. So I mean if she has bleeding, then we have to give this anti-D injection. Now active bleeding. Now this is the second criteria I have told you, that if patient is asymptomatic, we have to wait. If now patient present with the active bleeding, so first of all we have to stabilize the mother hemodynamically. Then we will do cesarean section. If she is Rh negative, then we will give the anti-D to the mother. If patient is premature, that is her gestation is between 24 to 34 weeks of gestation, then we have to give the betamethasone or dexamethasone for the lung maturity. We have to range 4 to 6 units of blood, because during surgery most of the time there is more bleeding, so patient will go in the shock. So we have to maintain this hypovolemia by blood transfusion. And sometime you see when placenta increta or pericreta is there, then we have to go for the immediate obstetrical hysterectomy. For this bleeding during the surgery, we can do using multiple methods. The most common cause for the bleeding during this cesarean section is the postpartum hemorrhage. Uterus is atonic because placenta is the lower segment, and these sinuses are not crossed when this after delivery of the placenta, or there is an incomplete delivery of the placenta. Then we have to contract the uterus by various methods for the, as you know, in the postpartum hemorrhage treatment we will do massage, we will give syntocinon, we will give F2 alpha in the uterus. But if still uterus placenta is delivered completely and atonic uterus, then we will see there is any bleeding on the placental bed. Sometimes you see when there is placenta increta and the percreta, the bed of the placenta is too much bleeding. Then we have to take multiple stitches in the figure of the 8 on the placental bed. Then we will see patient's vitals are okay, bleeding is stopped. Then after this, if still there is a bleeding, there is, you see, uterus is well contracted, you apply the multiple stitches on the bed of the placenta, still there is bleeding, and then we have to go for the obstetrical hysterectomy, we have to remove the uterus. So this is there should be blood, and patient's consent before surgery should be for the obstetrical hysterectomy. Informed consent here about the complications. Same I told you, if we are doing the cesarean section for placenta previa, there should be 4 to 6 units of blood. Patient should know that we have to go for the obstetrical hysterectomy if bleeding is not controlled. Now, no large clinical trial for the recommendation. Only I told you if we will divide the placenta previa in the two groups, asymptomatic placenta previa or symptomatic. Patient is in the term or not in term. Consider the hospitalization in the third trimester. No need to admit patient if placenta previa and she is in the second trimester, because more chances of the DVT and no benefit. Then we will see the antepartum fetal surveillance. We will give the lung for the lung maturity the corticosteroid. Then we have to plan the delivery at 36 to 37 weeks of gestation. Thank you.